just something about idiots that makes me laugh. And Cid is prime suspect number one in more than one way, right? In more than one way. This episode was really dope. We got to see a lot of shit. We got to learn a lot of shit. We just got to be a part of a lot of shit, which I bullshit y'all now. I was so fucking happy watching this, like going into this episode, right? Everybody told me like, yeah, this is Cid going to school. He's finally going to school. You get to see him interact with his friends. And I was like, ooh, let's get to it. And it did not disappoint, right? It did not disappoint. So now we get to see the entire plot unfold. But as we're on the way to school, we find out a multitude of things. We figured out Shadow Garden, they didn't leave just because they ain't fuck with Cid, which is what Cid thinks. Cid thinks that they left because they caught on to his scheme, right? Like they caught on to his like bullshit, his masquerade, his plans. But that's not the case. They went after the Cult of Diablos, which, I mean, they're a legitimate thing, at least to my knowledge, but he feels like it's a part of his bullshit, but it's not, right? It's not. It may be. We're gonna figure this shit out. I'm in the unknown field, right? I don't know what the fuck is going on. I have no fucking clue. And the funniest fucking part is that we legit figured out how he died. That is what was the funniest fucking part to me, bro, because I initially thought he died because one day he was just on his way to school and he got smoked, because if y'all remember, they put the pic of him in his school uniform next to the truck. So I was just like, oh, this motherfucker got hit. But no, this idiot threw himself out in front of a truck, gets smoked by said truck while he's repeating magic because he wanted magic. Oh my God, bro. And the shit that killed me about that is that he grinned, right? Like he was smirking about like, yeah, I did that. I threw myself out in front of the truck. Yeah, I got hit. I did that. Such an idiot, bro. We end up going to the school and we meet Skell and Poe, which is his homies. Together, they're the Three Stooges, man. They just work that way. I love seeing trios who they just like feed off their idioticness, right? Like they're chums, right? They're pals and they just do this shit. I fuck with that shit heavily. So we end up figuring out that Cid has to confess to the princess of the school, who is Alexia, because he got the lowest test scores. And Cid being Cid, he's just like, you know what? I got the perfect plan. There's no way this shit's gonna go wrong. I'm gonna come up with the greatest plan to get ultimately rejected and I can go on about living my life. And unfortunately for Cid, it didn't end up working that way because Alexia has a fucking scheme of her own, which is something that we figure out a little later in the episode. They end up becoming a couple, sitting together, everybody's shocked. You got all these people who are hating on him, and then you got Skell and Poe who are just like, yeah, that's our homie. He did that shit. Let's fucking go. But if you had a chance at it, that means we have a chance at it. Like I said, they become a couple. They go through their days. They're going through their swordsmanship shit, which was really dope, right? Like she was doing everything in her power to make sure that Zenon, who is, I believe he's the lead instructor, she was making sure that he was all over this, right? Come to find out, the only reason that Alexia agreed to being with Cid is because she felt like she could use him against Zenon, right? So the whole thing is Zenon and her are engaged, I guess, or he's a candidate for the engagement. She doesn't want shit to do with that. So she decided to date Cid to, you know, nip that in the bud. But Cid knows like he's not that type of guy, right? Like I don't want no part of this shit. Zenon isn't that type of guy. He's just gonna sit back and wait. Meanwhile, I'm gonna have to humor you in this relationship and I don't want to do that. But here's the thing. She ends up tossing out money, right? And Cid freaks out because he's like, oh shit, she gonna pay me to be with her? I can do my Eminence and Shadow shit. Bro, the comedy of those portions were fucking hilarious. Just the mannerisms. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, was it Skell, which is the tall one with the blonde hair, his homie? Or brown hair, one of the ones his homie? They got the perfect voice actor for that, right? They got Yoshitsugu Matsuoka, who is one of the most prominent voice actors in Japan. Y'all know him for playing Kirito. Y'all know him for playing Betelgeuse. You know, he plays a fucking wide array of characters. And he fits that role perfectly well, right? So this ends up, instead of becoming a relationship, it's more of like a business partnership. It's more of a business partnership between the two because now Cid can do his stuff without having to worry, right? Like now that he's getting a decent amount of money from her, he's going to be able to do what the fuck he wants to do, and that's being the Eminence and Shadow. But unfortunately, you know, they always say all good things must come to an end, and that's exactly what the fuck happened at the end of this shit, right? They end up getting into a squabble on the last train ride home. home, Sid points out that, you know, what was up with you today? You know, something was up with your swordsmanship. And she ends up going into the spiel about her sister, saying, you know, I just wanted to be better than my sister. They end up calling me the fencer ordinaire instead of extraordinaire. They were saying that
you are the most normal swordsman we've ever seen, and your sister is just this.
And you know, that type of shit pisses her off, right? The thing about Sid is Sid always tries to say some cool ass shit, but ends up saying the shit that you're supposed to say as the protagonist as the background character, right? And it comes across, he thinks he's saying some cool shit, but he's just saying what they want to hear. So he went the roundabout way of saying, of essentially saying that she matters to him, and she did not take to that kindly. And she ends up dipping off, right? She pulls the sword out and was like, yo, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? And she leaves. The last thing we hear is sayonara. And then this idiot ends up becoming the prime suspect for her kidnapping or disappearance. But here's where my thought process, like, you know, goes crazy. Because the person who approaches him is Zenon, right? Zenon and his homies. How was everybody, you know, privy to this shit already? It seemed too on the spot for this shit, right? I feel like somebody else is behind this. I feel like Zenon is the one behind this shit, but he just not, you know, he not saying nothing. He's supposed to be the perfect student, the pretty boy, this, that, and the third. He's good with everybody. But if you remember the conversation between Alexia and Sid, she judges people based off of their flaws, right? And when Sid asked about Zenon's flaws, she was like, he has none. And that's what she found weird. In my mind, I took that down as, okay, Zenon is the one behind her disappearance. There's no way somebody as decently strong as her, somebody who is as heralded as her at the school, is just going to become missing, right? That's just not it. That's not gonna happen. It was already fishy to begin with, right? And he was automatically persecuted. How did he know that they were the last ones together? Nobody saw them. Who saw them? Who was keeping an eye on them? You know what I mean? It's a lot to that. Very good episode, right? I know Sid and his homies gonna be on some bullshit next episode. Where the fuck is Shadow Garden? Is Shadow Garden behind this shit doing the kidnapping? I doubt it. It would be funny as hell. Make sure y'all let me know in the comment section how y'all felt about this episode. Make sure y'all let me know if I was spot on about anything, because like I said, I think Zenon is behind this. Y'all let me know in the comment section with that. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. I'm gonna try to get this video out as soon as possible, so I'm gonna cut all the small talk and shit. With that being said, it's your boy, xDomoSenpaix, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.